anymore. We're talking about an era that people, you know, fought wars in different manners, lived their lives in different manners. You cannot say that, for example, my generation, Generation Z, is the same as the millennials, the generation before them, let alone the same as the boomers or the generation before the boomers or the generation that was living in 1955. The world is not the same, people are not the same, circumstances are not the same. So, really, going back into history of what things used to be is not helpful in this instance. And if you want to know how the crown prince thinks, just go watch his interview on PBD. I think that's the most you know compatible resource that we have with the short attention span of today, because basically in that interview, inside of 3 hours, they explain everything regarding history and etc. But I give it to Baharat. I don't want to ramble here.
No, I just wanted to add, right, like, and kind of spotlight a couple of points that very, very important points that were brought up. Um, Number one is Ravi and some others brought up a really good point about India and Iran as civilizations. This is very important because I think a lot of people get caught up in this modern political situation. um Everybody knows that when a country is not, a superpower, right? Like Iran and India have been superpowers in the past. India had the third of the world's GDP for the longest time, massive influence over all of Asia, and so did Iran. Iran had, or Persia at the time, or basically Iran had massive influence all over Asia. It was a very, very great empire for thousands of years. I think people forget, right? And that's why history is so important. And I think it's time that these two countries, hopefully under the crown prince, revisit, their ancient ties. Like right now, India and Greece are actually kind of reviving that age-old civilizational alliance, right, against their enemies, which is Turkey. So it's very interesting that we have history which is so deep rooted. I think people don't realize that India and Iran never. I mean, this is pre-Islamic Iran, right? Like the original civilization never attacked one another. Not once, because they had blood ties. The Iranians always considered India as their blood brothers, and they never attacked India, even though they did conquer other lands, and the Indians never attacked the Iranians because they are family, right? So it's like this needs to kind of be rekindled. I think there's a lot of potential for these discussions when it comes to the crown prince. And if this does come up in the future, I think that would garner a lot of support amongst the Indians. And I mean, I think we have to also then create a roadmap, right? Like right now, it might be where the crown prince might have to take certain positions that may not sit well with the Indians or something like that. But if there is a roadmap, then that's something that the Indians would be very interested in. And I think that there's a lot of potential for cooperation just based on historic ties. And the other thing is that, I mean, I get again, I wanted to spotlight what he said, right? He said something that's very important. He said that Iran is a very destabilizing, sorry, the IRGC basically, right? The current regime in Iran is very destabilizing to the region. And I think, if we really focus on this, it's true that, they have a lot of proxies, right? There's proxies in almost every country in the Middle East that is not of, maybe in the peninsula other than Yemen, but like they have proxies everywhere. They have the Houthis, they have Hezbollah, and they have, connection with Hamas. And they are basically a cause for menace and terror. And I think that if he really and he really did, but I think that this definitely opened up a lot of eyes in India. Like for those watching this interview, that this is a force for evil. It's not a force for good. But I think that was very, very important. Just wanted to spotlight that.
Thank you, Bart. Yeah,
That's
I
absolutely
totally
very
agree.
important.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. So, um, Decado, manage. and I don't
Yeah,
remember Hussein's what.
I know the order. Before I go to the hands, please everyone share the space, retweet it, share it in your DM group so other people can join us as well. I think we should go to Ragu, if I'm not pronouncing your name incorrectly, because it's the first time you're gonna speak in this space, and then we go to Ravi. Go ahead, Ragu.
Hi guys, my name is Raghu Kondori. I'm Iranian. I lived almost 13 years in India. I am very familiar with the economy and politics and uh, all other stuff of uh, India. Looking to this interview, I would say the future between India and King Reza Pahlavi, once we took back the country, we took back the Iran and we put it back on the rail of the monarchy, it will be much, much better because we could be a very good ally to keep the peace and have the better economy relation and also be an ally for the Indian economic corridor that can do some change in the region. Look, today the Islamic regime deal with daily one hand, and other hand you don't know what they do. They proxy in Hyderabad or in Kashmir. I think Indian government need a little more push up to recognize the movement royalist as opposition, and that will help better for our relation in the future. When we look, there is these five countries geopolitically the most important in the region from India, China, Russia, Iran, and Israel. We should look which one they are troublemaker, which one they are peacemaker. I know you have your problem often with China and also the problem from the border and about economy, product, many things, and also Silk Road and Indian corridor. But other hand, also you have the same problem with Pakistan always, all the time, and uh, could be generated also with Afghanistan. Who could be your best ally? Either then Iran, monarchy Iran, and Israel. I know Israel also has very good relation, mostly in the very tight in the uh, arms and logistic of the army and some other stuff. Uh, but you need for business, your prosperity, a vision of peace, a vision of to find the true ally for the long term. And in that long term, and this relationship, friendship, we had it most powerful in the short time between Iran and India. That remember again, we can get that and get that more and more and more. And I hope really that will happen for Iran and India, and Iran market will get more open for Indian investor, and also India will be more open for Iranian investor uh, because we have a lot to do together. Thanks, Guy. I am here. If
Thank you,
any
Ragu.
question come rise, I am here. Thanks.
Thank you, Ragu. Go ahead, Ravi.
Oh, thank you. Um, so I'm gonna take the conversation back to the interview just briefly, because I know there's a multitude of things going on. And I've said this quietly, I've said the quiet part out loud privately, but I'll say it here, which is the if I was advising the Crown Prince, I would encourage him to spend as much time with the young people of India as humanly possible, which is getting on the podcast, getting on the younger kind of interview magazines, all India radio kind of conversation. Obviously, you're mostly Persians or Iranians here, so if I said Javan radio, everyone's face will light up. So at some point, India has its version of that as well. Getting to the next generation is the most important thing, because they will be voting for the next 15, 20 years, 30 years even. And embedding those ideas that, there's historical and cultural ties that go back centuries is important to them. The same way it's important to the Israelis, and the same way it's important to the younger Iranians, that the Islamic regime feels alien, and the yearning and the searching for the deeper roots is something that can cement a relationship for for the next couple of thousand years, if I'm being optimistic. The other thing that I would say is spend time with the diaspora. Indian diaspora is arguably one of the most successful diasporas ever, whether it's the US, South Africa, UK, wherever it may be. Getting into those communities as well is a really good strategy, not only because there's no language barrier because of English and other kind of languages, but through the power of social media, those conversations would go viral quicker. The idea of spending time with the younger people, and the idea of spending time with those people that will matter in the future, it only goes to strengthen the hand of the Crown Prince, because the Islamic regime relies on the next generation not putting up a fight. That's what the morality police, IRGC, they're all dependent on making sure that the next generation knows your predecessors didn't fight. You need to know not to fight. And I think by engaging that next generation, giving them the idea of, there's not only hope, but there's friends out there that have the same kind of feelings and the same kind of thought processes, and you can talk to each other and have this beautiful relationship. It will only strengthen the movement's hand. So yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Robbie. Thank you all, Decado, for it. So I think on that note, we get back to the interview again. Part of our questions and answers both are really embedded in the statement that we are making now, and we might share opinion on it. What was critical, I think, for all of us when the question was brought up that, hey, why do you think in the real politics the regime change would benefit the world? Because um, he has referenced to the issues at the moment in the world, like the Ukraine war, and then at the moment Israel, and why the world needs to agree on regime change, because that might cause more chaos. So maybe on that note, we can share our opinion, and from Iranian and Indian perspective, we can really bring up this point. Why do people of Iran want regime change? And I do remember Agni, Bharat, and Ravi, myself. We had like 5 weeks of sessions talking about India, Iran, past history as well. So now today we're standing where we change, the era, and we want to say, okay, we want regime change. People down in Iran wants regime change. So first, I want to hear it from Decado, from perspective as a person inside Iran. Do you agree that we want regime change, and do you agree with all the points that Crown Prince has brought up on the program? And I want to hear your opinion, and maybe others down from Iran if they want to come up, and how that would benefit India and Israel and Middle East at the end of the day. Go ahead, Dakota.
So let's start at the geopolitical front. The war in Ukraine. Russia is being backed up by the Islamic regime. They're being provided missiles and drones for pennies on the dollar. So that's Ukraine. So Islamic regime goes away, Russia's backing goes away, Russia's drones go away, and those drones, a better version of them, by the way, because we can make better things if it's not being operated by the law of Islamic Republic, we can do a better job at supporting people we consider our allies. We could give that support instead to Ukraine, which is in the right side of this. Our people, even before we knew any of this drone stuff, at the moment the war of Ukraine began, our people stood with Ukrainians. There's this video of Tumash Salehi, the rapper who's in prison because he spoke out against the Islamic Republic at the beginning of Russia's bloody invasion of Ukraine. And in this music video, he's wearing a Ukraine armband. There's videos of Iranians holding the Ukraine flag even before this. And then during this, Iranians outside the country in the diaspora, inside we can't do anything about it, but outside they have been participating in Ukrainian rallies, standing with them. At some cases in London, for example, even protecting them. So that's the Ukraine issue. Now regarding Israel, who's the sugar daddy of Hamas? The supreme loser of the Islamic Republic, who is paying for Hamas and Hezbollah's weapon and providing it to them, the Islamic Republic. So most of the problems that the interviewer is addressing, they exist because of the Islamic Republic. Now let's move back inside Iran. Inside the country. This country has 9% of the world's natural resources. It should be thriving. Instead, I have to watch videos of my people suffering. Today, someone showed me a video of a girl in Balochistan saying she's fasting, and then when the interviewer asks her, what did you have for like Sahari, which is the starting thing that they do with Muslim fasting? And she said nothing because we don't have enough money. And then the interviewer asks, what do you have for iftar, which is what you break your fast with? And the girl again says, we just drink some drinks and that's it, because my dad has passed away and my mother can't afford anything. And she's saying all of this with a voice that sounds happy. Do you know why? Because she does not understand that she is in a situation she shouldn't be, because she thinks everyone lives like this. One of the richest countries in the world, and its daughters have to live like that. That breaks my heart. The economy situation is their fault. They have ruined the nature of this country as far as they could have to line up their pockets so they can fund terrorism. They are basically merchants of death. They oppress our people, they suppress our people. We cannot walk inside of our country without the fear of something happening to us. I don't think anyone who's not lived Iran under the rule of the Islamic regime could understand what I'm saying here. But do you know what it's like to walk in your own country and always feeling unsafe, always feeling that something could happen to you on the back of your head? This is not being paranoid, this is being proven. A girl could die for a strand of hair in this country. And the hijab issue, a lot of people make this about the hijab issue. The hijab issue is a part of a very, very bigger problem. Basically, we have been deprived of our birthrights as humans, to live free, to feel safe, to feel at home inside of our own country, which is our birthright. So yes, we do want the entirety of this regime to go away, and we want them to pay for their crimes against humanity. Look at what they do. They wreak havoc wherever they can get their hands on. And then when we were talking about, when the interviewer was talking about the Islamic regime and their nuclear activities, quote unquote, the Crown Prince said something that was very beautifully said. If the Islamic regime gets the bomb, then every other country in the region wants the bomb. And where would we then be then? Everybody threatening each other with atomic bombs, and essentially that would be, I think, the end of humanity as we know it. No peaceful nation, in my humble opinion, needs an atomic bomb. It's not something we would want or need. So I absolutely agree with every single point that the crown prince was saying in that interview. As I said, I felt as if, and I always feel like this when he speaks, he's speaking from my mind. He's saying things that I would have said in answer to those questions. So the answer is a complete and big yes. And not only for us, for everyone, for humanity itself. These people, they love death. Their ideology is about death and jihad and going to heaven and forcing everyone into your will. How is that democratic, I ask you? And India, as I see it, is a democratic country moving towards true democracy in the past few years, and they're getting better and better and better, and they're moving forward. And all this regime wants is to throw the whole world back in time 1400 years. And I land my plane there.
Thank you, Dakaro. I think now, sorry, Rago, I need to really merge this question also to Indians. Bharat Agni Ravi. So how? Because I want to bring up this leadership. They talked about leadership. I want to know what's the situation in India about leadership. How and where India and their policymakers are standing at a moment in India. Do you see the leadership that they have in India is royally perfect, and you are standing in a better situation than any other country? And do you think the regime change would benefit India as an Indian? How do you see that? Where is India standing now today? Any of you, like Bharat, Agni, Ravi, or any other Indian who wants to come up?
Yeah, if anybody wants to take this question, please do. Agni, Ravi, do you guys want to speak on this? Ravi, Agni. Yeah, I would tell others
I
to
would,
raise their hand. I
I
guess
would,
I'll go.
I would
But I
talk
wanted
about
to
that.
quickly, wanted to quickly just, yeah, take a shot at this. So, like, I think that India has come a long way since 1947. India has had plants, um, basically puppet governments created by the British, and also institutions that were very, very colonized. Right, they were not completely pro-India. They were actually serving the interests of Britain, which was a colonial oppressor. And, the government until 2014 that came was extremely corrupt, very, very corrupt. Basically, it was like basically a dynasty. It was a very corrupt dynasty. And they were basically up for sale. I mean, there's KGB documents that make fun of, this government saying that, everybody's up for sale. You just throw money at them, and you can purchase these people, and they'll sell the country, right? And they'll spill all the beans. They'll sell you all their secrets, etc. And this is the kind of India that was the case before 2014. And after 2014, if you just look at the data, if you look at the statistics, it has completely changed, right? It's completely changed 180 degrees in terms of now becoming a regional uh, rising power. And it's now a geopolitical, force that, nobody can ignore. And it has to, the world basically has to take India's opinion in almost everything, because it's GDPs wise very significant. It's very, very influential now, and it's a very stark contrast to pre 2014, and that's why a lot of people consider 2014 to be India's second independence, and in fact the real one. And if you just look at India, it has a very pro-India government, right? A lot of the countries in the West sometimes do portray this government as, anti-West or, anti-democratic. It's in fact quite the opposite. India has like I think it has like thousands of political parties. They have the most chaotic opinions, but these parties and, the people that run these parties are never silenced. they are actually encouraged. Their voices are always encouraged. Nobody mysteriously disappears or anything like that. I think India is a full-fledged democratic process. It's the largest democracy in the world in terms of population. And I think India has finally gotten a very, very strong leader that really puts its interests first, puts its people first, and really is focused on development. He's focused on the economy. Narendra Modi is focused on the economy. He's focused on basically growing India's influence in the world. And he really does believe in diplomacy, and his diplomatic breakthroughs have really got the world's attention on how to be a sort of a tightrope balancer between the West and the rest, right? He doesn't believe in just aligning in with one block when it comes to, you know, not putting his country's interests first. And I think he's also encouraging other countries to do that too. He's encouraging every country to think for itself and not be part of a bloc unless it absolutely has to, and unless it has no other choice. But even if it is today, he is encouraging other countries to kind of walk that tightrope tomorrow when it does have the ability to sort of kind of push back, right? And I think that's what we're seeing. But yeah, if anybody wants to add to that, I would love to hear from you.
Thank you, Bart. Can you check the profile of Prashanator before just I accept his mic? Raghu, go ahead.
In the interview, we saw Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi talking about regime change, and it seemed the journalists couldn't understood what is mean regime change, and then he project his understanding, saying regime change is mean to send the arm to change the government. That actually regime change, what King Reza Pahlavi say, it is a civil resistance. The civil resistance using our right to say no without violence. And in that regime change will come with the pressure of the people and the maximum support of the other country to Iranian people. Look, one thing, maybe first in the world happening politically, we could done that. When they are talking about attack of Iran on Israel, they don't say Iran. They say Iran is separate regime, Islamic. They did that. They distinguish now between regime Islamic and Iranian people. You see almost big majority of Iranian people, they are pro-Israel, Israel, and they back Israel in their fight. Then separately became government has some his own face, people has his own face. What we are looking, it is not violence. We want regime change, push to this regime to come down. And what we go to do in the next is not to kill everyone, not at all. It will be amnesty for everybody. Else, for some people, they killed and they had hand in the blood. Even for these people, we will not go to kill them. They will be judged and properly, and they will be in the jail. We are going to get the human right for everyone. We want no one suffer. That is the most important. To build a country, we do not go bring people from the moon. There is same people there. There is same army, same technocrat. They go work. Many of them they go work for the royal country, and we go deal with that. They are also somehow our treasure, our asset. We do not go kill our asset. Most we want now to work on it, it is to make more the regime lose the Islamic in the army, in the Sepa, in the everywhere, and the people do not back up uh, Islamic regime. The people are targeted, the army and all the police. They can do something. I stop. You want to say something?
No, I just wanted to, you know, talk after you wrap
Okay.
up in 30 seconds, 1 minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will. I will finish in 1 minute. Uh, Actually, I did one book. It is in English, Insight into Intelligence Politics. It's in some part of these books, I show exactly how the Iranian politics in the Shah time it was working, how we were doing the diplomacy, because Shah was really has a mastery in the diplomacy. When you looked from the angle between peace between Egypt and Israel, who initiated that? Shah of Iran, with all his lobby he had it in America, he initiated that to bring this negotiation between uh, Egypt and Israel. The way he did same for China. I finished. For China, I say next time how he did bring China to the UN. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Rago.
UN, I'm sorry if anyone has a different opinion, but UN is a useless joke. Even our late king once said a weak UN is damnation for every single country, and we are seeing that. It is a weak UN, and it is a useless joke, and it does nothing but appease terrorists, and I don't understand why. Then the Islamic regime of all governments becomes the chairman of a human rights consulate event. I think that right there gives me the permission to call UN a useless joke. Sorry to be a little bit harsh in that regards, but that really pisses me off. Them, seriously, chairman of a human rights event of any sorts anywhere? Wow.
Yeah, that's true. Um, Hi, Prashanathar. I don't know where you want to jump in. Please let us know with raising your hand up. So maybe that question would go to our both historians and their perspective, because that statement in the interview interests me and I think Indian as well. They refer to the strong leadership, and somewhere I see some weakness that the interviewer wanted to say, okay, you want to say you have the leadership of the people, but then, you don't have it. So, and he brought it up that, yeah, I mean, how do we know that you can manage it? And then Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi referred to the past, weak leadership, and brought up Roosevelt, Churchill, and Hitler during the Second World War later, and towards the end of the Soviet Union, and the Ronald Reagan, and then Margaret Thatcher. So the two strong leaders. And then they brought up the Soviet Union empire, and the same kind of leadership was required today. So that he says today. So Hassan, Rabi, I don't know, he's gone, but I want to know, what do you call the strong leadership, and how the world today sees the strong leadership comparing to the past? How do you define that?
Uh, I see Ravi's gone, and I'm gonna blame him for this later. I feel like
I've texted him, so maybe he'll come back. Yeah.
I feel like that the student that hasn't studied and has been pulled in front of the lecturer to answer questions, and which honestly, guys, Dekada and I'll get you guys later for this, okay? Because I'm in middle of actually finishing my article about Shahpur the First, so I was listening to you guys and trying to not make a mistake on my article, and then you asked me a question, and I'm floundering for an answer. So right. I think the question, Shabani, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, Ravi is back. Ravi, you better answer this question. I swear to God, otherwise there's going to be trouble between me and you. What defines the strong leadership in in 21st century? Well, actually, well, that's a difficult one to answer. But let's review. Look, and a strong leadership comes from its policies. Okay, the policy of a country is important. How the leadership is viewed by external and internal forces. Okay, so um, I like to say, from what I have seen and heard from the king, okay, uh, that we are looking. See, see, my opinion is, to be honest, I've got a very neutral opinion, and it's not right to mention it here for one specific reason. Is that these questions need to be answered when he's in power, and to be able to look at the policies that and the external forces on his policies. Look, a policy can be, we can say any as a policy, but external forces can change that policy when it comes to power. So it's really difficult to define what his kingship will be without him being on the throne. Okay. Um, so I really can't. I don't know where to start on this. Okay, I don't have an answer for this one, and I'm really struggling to trying to define.
Hassan at a loss for
I
words. I never thought I could see the day. Ravi, could you help this poor guy out maybe with answering this question
Sure.
because
am.
he's really
What was the
struggling.
question? Sorry, my
So
app crashed.
that was my challenging question. So Ravi, technically, if I know you've watched the interview, the argument of the interviewer was, hey, we had some strong leadership, and you claim that you want to lead Iranian, yeah, and you want the regime change. And I think the point out there was, we shouldn't miss that today, in the today world, how do we precisely say who's the strong leader, and what are the aspects that we can call a person like Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi as a leader? And that brings up the question from the citizen of the world, from India, from Israel, from Iran, from everywhere. What are the perspectives that we call strong leadership? What are the characteristics? And comparing it to the past, as a historian, in the 21st century, how do you address that? A strong leadership.
Oh, this question's really easy. It's not that hard in the slightest. So, if I was the crown prince, uh, I would have invoked. Okay, most Iranians don't even know this, but my favorite crown prince of all time is Crown Prince Adisha of India, not of the Parthians. And because most Iranians don't know this story, it's the quintessential story of leadership and ties that bind. So I'll give you two incidences out of Prince Adisha's life that will help answer this question. The first is in his youth, when he and his ancestors arrived on the shores of Gujarat, after having spent the best part of 20 years going from port to port to port, trying to find a safe haven from the Arab invasions. They've brought their sacred fire with them, they've kept it going, and they've got some of the fire priests to remember some of the stories and maintain at least the core principles of what it means to be part of Iran Shah, pre-Islamic. They arrive at the final, kind of one of the final ports of a Hindu king in Gujarat, my part of the world. And the crown prince, crown prince in his youth goes to meet the king, and he's there with all the fire priests and all the intellectuals. And the Hindu king says to the Zoroastrians, "Look, my kingdom is full," and he presents them with a cup of milk or a bowl of milk. To which the fire priests walk over and sprinkle sugar into the milk. Now, what this does is it sweetens the milk and it doesn't overspill, which obviously because of the language barrier, the king immediately gets it, which is, look, we're not here to overthrow you, or we're not here to do anything untoward. We're here. Our presence will enrich what already is. So In this conversation, what happens next is quite possibly one of the best examples of Hindu philosophy, which is the Hindu king invites them into the kingdom and he gives them three stipulations. The first is that you will adopt the language and the customs of the people that you're assimilating into. They said, fine. The second stipulation is that you can't force someone to convert to your traditions. If someone wants to come of their own volition, that's absolutely fine, but you can't coerce, you can't force someone to. And there was a third stipulation, which is in the event that the kingdom is attacked, you're a part of the kingdom now. It's every citizen's responsibility to protect the kingdom. And, the fire temple priests and the young prince and his father and everyone said, yep, that's absolutely fine. In exchange, the fire temple priest explained how the sacred fire works, which is that only the fire temple priests are allowed near it. And not just near it, within a 50-kilometer kind of radius. And the Hindu king said, that's fine. I will allot you a piece of land and I will make sure that every single rule that is associated with your fire temples will be met. I will provide for and I will support the consecration of your fire temple. That fire temple is still there today. To the point, there's an inscription on that fire temple honoring this relationship and honoring this treaty that was signed. Now, fast forward 20 years, and the Arab armies, led by whomever, it's not really important, obviously find out that the Zoroastrians have escaped to India, and they plan this huge kind of seaborne invasion of the Gujarati coast. What happens next is that the Hindu king, a guy called Jadirana, summoned his subjects and summoned all the people to his side and said, look, our kingdom is under attack, honor your oaths. And everybody does, including the Zoroastrians, led by Prince Adishar. Now, the prince and the king fight side by side for the next 5 days, right? Through blood, sweat, tears, they're fighting non-stop the next 5 days. Eventually, the Hindu king is killed. And the other subjects begin to lose heart. The prince rallies everyone, rallies the entire army, and leads one final assault. And in quite possibly what is one of the baddest lines and bars in history, the prince utters, my ancestors promised for every one Zoroastrian, for every one Iranian, we would take the head of 1,000. We now go to honor that promise. If the crown prince had uttered this story on that news channel, the entire nation would have erupted. And because that story and that event is still honored today in India. So that is the mold and that is the standard of leadership that the crown prince has to offer. And that is the relationship and kind of support that Hindus have to offer. We've done it before, so the standard has been set. There's nothing stopping us from doing it again. So I hope that answers the question.
Precisely.
I think, yeah, I was gonna say that. I think that answers that question
Maybe
completely.
we should
Like
have,
you didn't
maybe,
leave one dot
maybe
to be
guys, we
said.
should have invited Arnab and tell him about strong leadership. We should have our next space with Arnab and learns lessons from Ravi. Okay. So, Persian Gulf, you can go ahead. And guys, we're going to wrap up maybe in 15, latest to 20 minutes. Hassan as well, Nick, after Persian Gulf, if it's okay for you.
Before Persian Gulf and Hassan go, I just want to
Sure.
say, if you're interested in what has been happening in the past week inside Iran and Iran-related news, in about 34 minutes, we're going to have our weekly spaces for Iran news in English. So I'm going to pin that in the nest. And if any of you is interested, I would be there and we would be happy to have you. And with that, Persian Gulf, go ahead.
Thank you, Dekado. I'm Shabani. Baharat, everybody. Hassan and Ravi. Hi, everyone. From inside Iran. When you speak to my Shah like that, I'm so sorry. I'm not a diplomat. I'm not a political activist. I'm a citizen living in Iran under Islamic Republic. A woman, an atheist for years. For 30 years, I have been an atheist. We have been fighting with Indian people on Clubhouse. We were exchanging information, supporting Israeli people, and condemning all terrorist attacks from small ones in Israel, anywhere in India. So we know when, it is kind of habit that we interrupt each other. But when you are a professional and you are interviewing the future Shah of a country or future leader of a country, you should show a little bit more restraint. Wait for the answer when you ask a question several times.
Persian Gulf, sorry to interrupt you. Just
Please,
one
yeah,
thing
good,
to
very good
add.
one, very
I
good one, very good one for my nerves, Decado.
agree with you. I agree with you, but one thing that you have to consider here, that if you pay attention, there was a delay going on between when the crown prince was talking, and when the guy heard him. You could hear
I
the
know,
back audio in
sweetheart,
the
I
back. So
know,
maybe
I
that was
know.
the reason he was here.
I
Go
know,
ahead.
but still, when he hadn't completed the answer, and you should listen to the answer completely to see that it is covered or not, and then again repeat from another angle. And I don't want to say anything negative because I myself I was glittery from last night, and I just liked and shared, liked and liked and reposted, and right now I'm just unliking and unreposting all of my reads because it is a slap to my face. I have been fighting and I don't know, advocating and telling my people in life, not on social media. The time that we didn't have social media, we had just satellite at the beginning, and then step by step, I have always been talking to people, to younger generation, and teaching them what happened during the revolution, blah blah blah. That's now thanks to the social media and technology, you have everything better actually. And also, it is at reach. It is easier for you to get it. So we tried hard. Lots of prisoners, actually, absolute majority of prisoners are monarchists, and they call our Shah, and they when anybody disrespects our Shah, you are disrespecting a nation, majority of the nation, especially those who are fighting and those who are in jail. It was this actually interview because His Majesty has had a lot of interviews recently, but this one reminded me of BBC. The way that they are, you know, kind of aggressive, rude. You don't tell the future leader of a country, and right now the leader of the country, you have no right. You have no right to assume. It is offensive to a nation. To my fellow Indian people here, I love you. I know that you are kind and you are amazing nation. We have lots of things in common, and we have lots of goals to fight with each other, and we have been fighting with each other actually against this kind of, I don't know, um, terrorism, stuff like that. But if he's a lefty, I don't know because I don't know this guy. If he's a lefty, it's okay. But if he is a right wing journalist and speaks like that, nobody speaks to our Shah like that. Just the BBC does. That we know that they are the enemy. They made this plague uh, 45 years ago to us. So a little bit. If you're supposed to be diplomatic, we citizens under a lot of pressure, we pay and I don't know, lots of suffrage. We get connected to see, to listen, and then share with the others who don't have the money, time, and also maybe they don't know English to listen quickly. We share it to other people on the ground in Persian. So we don't expect to receive things like that. If you're supposed to be politically correct and polite and diplomatic, a journalist must have. Thank you so much. And sorry if I was a little bit off, but I was a little bit too surprised. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Persian Gulf. Beginning of the space, we actually talked about Arnab and his shows. And we actually talked about that beginning of the interview. He was like from Royal Highness, he reached to, Reza Pahlavi. Because we've seen that he was not expecting Crown Prince to be very well prepared. We need to really say hats off to him. And really bad for Arnab. He needs to prepare himself when he's talking to someone like Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi. We need to be really frank about it. And yeah, I mean, Bharat and Ravi and Agni also mentioned that I said hard talk show, but apparently Robbie said bombarding show. So that's his style. And it's just like when we visit a country and we don't know the people, like suddenly you go to Japan. I mean, for me, it was always a surprise when I went to Japan. Or you visit a new country, you don't know how to behave with the people. I think for Arnab was also new, honestly. But again, I would say Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi was the winner because he didn't even blink a second and he was responding very well. And Arna was getting, angry and more angry. And then he, you saw that the Crown Princess of Pahlavi also at the end said, what you're bringing up is the propagandist statements. And he said, oh, you're accusing me. Well, yes, because, we know where we're coming from. And he was receiving papers, so I mean, somebody was writing immediately something for him to respond, and he was reading from the paper. So that means they didn't expect that to happen. Honestly, hats off to Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, the king of all time and the Shah of all time. And I'm really proud of him, and I think all the Iranians are proud of him. And no wonder he is the one and only that we can only trust. To be really, really honest. So, Dekado or Hassan, I don't know. You guys deal with each other, friends.
No, no, no. Let me before Hassan goes. I don't think he would mind. First of all, I saw even in the Sky News that the interviewer kept interrupting the prince. So maybe it's something that is spreading between all the journalists that they are, making this habit of interrupting people, which is, as a journalist, not cool at all. This is not a Twitter space. You're a journalist. Be professional. What the hell? But you know what? I enjoyed that interview. Do you know why? Because as Shabani very well put it, the crown prince didn't even flinch, not 1 second. And he answered every question. And the guy, as I said at the beginning of this space, they found every hard question that has ever been asked from an Iranian, and they asked the crown prince that question and he answered them eloquently. And the reason he can do that, he said it in the interview too. He said, if you think just because I'm not inside the country I don't know the very small details of what happens each day, each hour in my country, you are mistaken. And that is why he is not only our only option, but before that, he is our best option for leading us to a secular, democratic, free Iran. Go ahead, Hassan.
No, I think I agree with you, and I just wanted to say thank you very much for the fantastic space. Please, next time, warn people what we're going to talk about. Really, it's being put on the spot like a student. It feels that I'm going to get a bad grade. I'm going to go back to studying again. For God's sake, you people, honestly. But Ravi, thank you very, very much for saving my ass on this one. I owe you a big one on that one, buddy. So thank you very much for that. And yeah, after this space, I'm going to block the Kado and Shabani. It's very simple. That's the best way to go forward, not to be put on the spot again. But there you go. I never thought I won't be able
Hassan, darling, you know what? After 19 months, I finally got you. Let me enjoy my victory. Like every and each time, anywhere, I ask this guy a question. He opens his mic, starts speaking very eloquently. This space is the first time in the past 19, 20 months that I've known this very, very old guy, uh, that he has been stumped, like literally at a loss for words. So I'm Shabani, thank you for holding this space. I finally got Hassan, and we discussed a very, very, very important interview. Uh, to that point, if you haven't listened to the interview, go listen to it, because basically, as I said, the hardest questions that you could ask an Iranian regarding the situation in Iran, regarding the Islamic regime, and why we want them to be changed, and what is going on, and how is it going to happen, and how is it different from Iraq and all the other times, the Crown Prince answers each of these questions in the best way they could possibly be answered. So, with that note, I'll give it to Shabani because I don't see any other hands. I saw Parshator. I'm butchering your name, most probably, but if you want to speak, you can do it now, and if not, we can go to our closing remarks.
I think, Dakota, you need to practice the Indian names from now on. I'm telling you. Prashanathar, go ahead. I don't know what you want to talk about, but we're here. Hello, anybody there?
Going once, going twice. Parshator, hello. Okay, I don't think they can hear
Okay.
us. I'm
Are you calling Prashna?
Yeah, we're calling Prashna. See, Bharat has to call.
Hey,
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yeah, why can't you respond to us and you just respond to Bharat? That's not fair. You played the Indian card. Not fair.
It takes one to know one. Anyway, just I just to add a few couple of points. Listening to the conversation, very lively, very thorough, really very amazing points. And thank you everyone for just really giving me a learning opportunity to be illuminated with such amazing, wonderful new dialogue and conversations. The thing I just too much of anyone's time. Just want to add a couple of cents here. It's just uh, the thing is, um, Arnab Goswami, he has cultivated this image in India, which is basically the sort of loud, brash, in your face, edgy reporter who's always investigating, like who's digging up the truth. His show is less in journalism and more infotainment, and as the audiences in India, we take it as such. So I would tell people like, yeah, yes, I'm really grateful the Crown Prince came and took out a valuable time from his schedule to come and give and this interview, and we are grateful for it. But anyone who watches any Arnab Goswami show, like invest journal, we don't like do not expect very thorough journalistic integrity and see it more for its infotainment value. And if you can find something new information out of it, good for you. Otherwise, just take it with a huge grain of salt. Just to add a couple of points out there. Thank you, and thank you again for your time. Wonderful discussion so far. Thank you.
Thanks to you that you responded to Bharat and not us. Thanks for that.
We butchered his name, so we butchered his name, so I think he
Yeah,
had the
I
right
think
to.
so. But I brought up acne at the last moment because we've been compatriots together with Bharat and Ravi. And acne has gone down, but I think she hears my voice. In that interview as well, he has played the feminism card and referred to the woman life freedom movement. Let her come up, please.
Okay, regarding that, before she comes up, I'm accepting her mic.
Good,
I don't
she's
know if
there.
it's working.
She's there.
Um, yeah, okay. Before Agnes speaks, I just want to mention this. I made a mini documentary about this. Woman life freedom isn't something that belongs to today or yesterday or 2022. Woman life freedom is something we had pre 1979 and the mullahs took from us. And I'll be pinning that in the nest as well.
Yeah, please go ahead because that was great documentary that I think you invested so much time on it. Agni, we had many spaces and we discussed that our issue in India and also in Iran at the moment and also Israel is not technically only the women rights. Additionally, is the issue with Islam, right? And I want you as a woman, vocal, to be really vocal about it. Do you believe Islam is standing in front of Hinduism in India as well? Because we have majority of people today, and we have discussed it several times. And do you see Islam in India is also ruining the identity of Indians and humanity out there as well.
Is that question for
Hi,
me?
It's
Shabani.
for
I
Agni.
missed some of what you said, but hi. So I'm sorry, I'm having some connection issues today, but from what I hear, I mean, I've been a Hindu female my whole life, and I have, as someone who's been a Hindu female my whole life, never once been victimized because of my gender and sex by my own community. I do think that there are certain communities who need to do better as how they treat their females. And so and so that's true. But as far as Islam in India, I mean, you hear about things like that there are movements to now towards equalizing that, right? Like the Unified Civil Code, and there has been the removal of triple talaq and things. These are things that um, an attempt to secularize and I guess de-Islamize those parts of society, for the benefit of the whole country, right? But that has been met with a lot of pushback from people who thought that that was a move against secularism when it's the opposite, right? So, but sorry, I missed the second part of your question. There was a delay. So, Shabani, what was the
Yeah,
next part?
Agni, the next part was we've discussed it. Do you think playing the card of feminism at the moment is the right thing to do while we are fighting for our identity?
Do you mean as far as hijab and things like that? I think that's always an issue. Yeah, I think showing those women that there are women from indigenous cultures who have full rights in their families, in their societies. I mean, individuals being bad is one thing, but for a culture to victimize them, there are certain communities that are um, bigger perpetrators of that than others. So to point that out would be, I think, very beneficial. Always. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, everybody, even the worst person, has a sister, a mother, a daughter. So that could, talking about women's rights impacts men too, right?
Thank you, Agni.
So,
No, thank you so
yeah.
much. Also, Persian Gulf is there. She's also an Iranian down in Iran. So I want you also to visualize what's happening down there and send the final message that whether hijab is the only thing we want now. Yeah, thank you. That thumbs down says it all.
Sorry. Was that the hijab issue is not the only women's issue? Is that what you're saying?
It's not the only issue
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah,
Right.
It's
Yes,
not
of
the
course.
only issue within
yeah,
Iran. It's not the only issue with Islam. I
yeah,
think that's
yeah,
the statement, if
Correct.
I'm
correct.
not
Okay.
mistaken.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because
That's not the only problematic
yeah,
aspect of it. Yeah.
exactly. Because
Yeah.
we need to really bring it up at the last moment as well. Since we have talked for weeks about it, I don't want to waste energy again on it. But as Persian Gulf as well showed thumbs down, we as a nation, Iranian, Indian, they're at the moment really fighting for their freedom. They want their identity back. What I mean, at least Indian had, I would say more or more of that, but not us. And this playing the card of Islam at the moment is not something we're all looking for. And we see the problem down in the region. And I hope that Arnab sees it later on in his own life. Because Hassan, I thought that I'm the Arnab second because I raised that question. It was challenging for you. I try not to be Arnab, guys. So lesson learned, don't be Arnab. But yeah, I think Persian Gulf as well. I do understand our frustration, and he's our Royal Highness, and we really fully respect him, accept him, and love him. And hope we see more interviews down in India so that people get to know our Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi in a better way, more and more, really more and more. Looking forward to it. And Bharat, Ravi, and Agni, my three compatriots, thank you so much for being there, always supporting our movements, our causes. That really pleases me, and I think everyone that we understand for a good we can have a regime change soon in Iran, and we can have a better relationship with each other, and both nations can share what they had in the past and enjoyed it. Really, I think we have enjoyed it. And Decado and Bharat or Hassan or Ravi, if you have last statement, please go ahead.
For my last statement, I leave you with the eternal, beautiful words of Sadi. Humankind are members of a whole, in creation of one essence and soul. If one member is afflicted with pain, other members uneasy shall remain. If you have no sympathy for human pain, the name of human you shall not retain. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, guys, and thank you for joining us, and thank you for listening to us and being involved in the conversation. Bye.
Thank you very much for this great space.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Decado. And yeah, I think that beautifully summarizes a lot. I think I just want to my last words would probably be that I think there's plenty of scope that I think the Indian and Iranian community have in terms of cooperation and really making sure that we are true to our civilizations, and we really encourage like a multipolarity and the rise of civilizations once again, rather than this terrible, like, radicalist ideology that has gripped this world. And we see a lot of that, right? We see a lot of countries thinking through the eyes of theology instead of civilization, and I think it's time to give a little twist to that, because right now the uh, people that are basically ruling the world, they're not the same type of ancient civilizations that we have in Asia, right? Asia, West Asia, South Asia, East Asia. We like to call it the Indian subcontinent as South Asia. So yeah, I think that we can do a lot to kind of show the world who we have been and who we are. And I think that we are natural, not just allies, but we are cousin civilizations. And I think it's very important to keep that in mind, no matter what happens and what is geopolitically happening right now. That we will never be sort of separated, and we will always be united for this cause. And I really do think that together, Indians and Iranians, along with our Jewish friends in Israel, can definitely change the world and provide a different perspective.
Thank you. Yeah, Hassan, last words.
I'm not talking to you. That's my last word that I'm going to say.
Oh yeah,
That's
you
where my
blocked me. I know, I know.
no, guys, no. I think that the space that you put up is fantastic. It was a lot of. I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared. Ricardo just sent me a message. Come to the space, and I came to the space, and I thought I'm going to be a listener and just sit there and listen. And no, of course not. That's what where I went wrong. I opened my mouth. So Ricardo, you win this round. I'll get you back later. And now I'm going to come up with huge amount of questions for Shabani that she can answer in multiple places as well, just to get her back on this man's belt. But guys, thank you very much for your effort. Thank you very much for the space. I think we should definitely have more of these. And between us, the Israeli groups and the Indian groups, I think we can do a huge amount of information dump and cooperation together. So thank you very much. And I'm sorry I wasn't well prepared for this one, but next one I'll become a bit more prepared.
Thank you so much, Hassan. Really, I appreciated that you came up. Sorry for not letting you know beforehand. Yes, you can really roast me next round. Of course, I cannot respond to your questions. Of course, not to a historian. Oh no. Ravi, the historian.
Yeah, I'm here.
Ravi, yeah.
Okay. Last words. Ooh, okay. Let me tell you a couplet from Sanskrit. So I'll butcher the Sanskrit, but I'll tell you the English anyway. But I think it's something that you guys will love, and I think should take forward. But it goes something to the effect of Nabhisheko Rana Samskara Simhasya Kriyatevale Vikramajita Satvasya Swameva Mugrenta, which translates to there is no official coronation ceremony to declare a lion king of the jungle. he becomes king by his own attributes and actions. Yeah, parting words.
Thank you. That was beautiful. So Persian Gulf.
No, thank you. Thank you for the space. And sorry if I was a little bit,
No, no, not at all.
snappy.
All good.
But believe you me, because when you're at the bottom of, I don't know, the hell, and then you have just one golden string that you're holding to, and then you see that people are shaking it or doubting it, attacking it, it is like a kick in the face, not a slap in the face, and then you lose it. So thank you very much, and I really meant everything I said. I won't retreat, but maybe my tone would be nicer. Thank you so much for the nice space.
We'll definitely send your message to Arnab. Don't worry about that. So, Agni, if you have the last statement, go ahead, my dear.
No, this was a wonderful space. It was very interesting. Thank you. And looking forward to the next one.
Sure, thank you. And I also want to thank the live on air because he always comes to different Persian spaces. And I'm really glad if people down in Iran on YouTube heard us. Uh, we are here to support each other. We support Iran and their people. We support India and their people. We support peace and hope soon we Iranian, we Indian, and the Israelis, really make it peaceful and come up with a better region for good, for the rest of the world, seriously. And we need to fight really hard for it. Thank you, Bharat and Dekado and Agni and Ravi, Hassan and everyone. Um, Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to some of you. Um, we'll catch up later and we'll inform you all about the next topic. And soon, I think we will see Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi on next interview in India, and we'll have better communication and people getting to know him and our movement, a real movement and the regime change, the willing of the whole people down in Iran. Thank you all. Goodbye.